In this video, I'm going to talk about my unpopular investing beliefs. This video is part 2. You can check out part 1 somewhere right here. Let's jump into it. Fees aren't the only thing to look out for in ETFs. Once again, I see a lot of comments on social media, on Reddit forums, and videos and stuff like that, and infographics that talk about the impact of fees and how a difference in fees from 0.5% to 1%, that could mean quite a lot in terms of returns that you will lose out on. And while all of that is fairly valid, I feel like people only focus on this aspect and ignore all the other aspects of investing that's out there. Now, of course, if you're buying a market tracking ETF that tracks ASX 200 or S&P 500, then investing in the lowest fee option just makes sense, and this is not about that. But because of this lowest fee mindset, a lot of people seem to ignore other investments that are out there, like thematic ETFs, for example. These ETFs have much higher fees than other market tracking ETFs that are out there, but then in return, they also have the potential to outperform the market as well at the cost of a higher fee. And the reason being is because these ETFs are tracking themes, so by virtue of that, they are extremely concentrated. Now, I've covered a lot of thematic ETFs on this channel that have outperformed the market, and in that case, the fees didn't really matter because the performance was so good. Now, of course, once again, these ETFs do come with more risk, but because people have such a lowest fee type of mentality, they often miss out on even researching or learning about new types of investments like these. And I think as investors, we should try to look for other investment opportunities, and if we don't end up buying them, at least I think we should learn about them and educate ourselves. So in summary, fees are very important to look at, but don't let that be the only thing you look at when it comes to investing in ETFs. Number 4, ethical investing will not beat traditional investing, generally speaking. Now, I can make a whole video on this topic and talk about the issues and problems with ethical investing, and I can go in depth into this, so let me know if you want that. But generally speaking, I don't believe that ethical investing will outperform general traditional investing over the long run. There's a lot of studies out there that show that ethical investing does seem to beat traditional funds, but here's the problem. These sustainable funds haven't been around for that long. Most of them didn't even exist about 10 years ago, so the performance data that you're looking at is gonna be mostly less than 10 years. Versus traditional funds that have been around for quite a long time. The first ETF was created in 1993, but the first index fund was created in the mid-1970s. So we've already got close to 5 decades of data showing that index fund investing works. Now, if you backtest and you go back even further, you will have close to 100 years of data showing that on average, the stock market will return somewhere around 7 to 10% per year on average. So basically, you're comparing something that has been around for several decades, which is traditional investing, and you're comparing it with ethical investing, which has only been around for roughly 10 years, and you're putting a bet on it. And personally, I'm not comfortable with that, and I don't think that their performance will be on par with traditional index funds. If the performance of these ethical funds turns out to be less than traditional funds, you will stand to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in the loss in compounding over the years, and that is something to consider. It's basically a risk that I'm not willing to take at this time. Also, when it comes to sustainable investing funds, you'll be paying a higher management fees, and if you compare it to traditional market index funds, you'll be paying roughly around 0.1%, and you will get exposure to the entire market for such a low cost. So fees basically eat into your returns as well, which sucks. And then lastly, the S&P 500 basically tripled in the last 10 years, and things were basically going in one direction, which is up. Now, moving forward, we are heading into a bit of a choppy territory with the war going on, with inflation issues, supply chain issues, and I feel like in this choppy territory, these funds will not be able to keep up with traditional investing. That is just my opinion, but let me know what you think. An example I can give you guys is ETHI, BetaShares Global Sustainability Leaders ETF. This is arguably one of the best ethical ETFs out there. The performance is quite good, but if we compare this ETF on a year-to-date basis with the S&P 500, so this ETF has gone down around 17% year-to-date, but the S&P 500 index has only gone down around 13.5%. So basically, it is underperforming on a year-to-date basis. But if we compare these two ETFs on a 5-year basis, we can see that ETHI has gone up around 77%, while S&P has gone up only 70%. And of course, this does not include dividends, but the performance is quite good of ETHI. But if we compare ETHI to something more similar, like let's say the Nasdaq 100 index, if you look at the 5-year return for ETHI, once again, it's 76%. But the 5-year return for the Nasdaq 100 is about 127%. So Of course, it is outperforming the Nasdaq. Now, the reason why I'm picking Nasdaq 100 index is because this index has about 50% in tech, while Ethy has around 37% in tech. So they're kind of similar, but not really. And Nasdaq has, of course, 100% in the US in terms of their holdings, but Ethy has global holdings. So it's very hard to find direct comparables, but you guys can kind of see the difference. But I would say that Ethy is the exception here in terms of performance. I don't think we see many ETFs like this that do perform quite well, so this is the exception. But other ETFs out there definitely do underperform. Another example that I can show you guys from an Australian perspective is ASX Fair. This ETF has some of the most strictest guidelines when it comes to their screening processes, so if someone is looking to invest ethically, this could be an option to consider. But when it comes to performance, let's just have a look. So year-to-date performance for this ETF is about negative 14.6%. Of course, we're in a bit of a choppy territory, but if we compare this to the ASX 200, ASX 200 is about 7.5% negative, so the variance is pretty insane. Fair has gone down almost double of what the ASX 200 has gone down with, and that is just unacceptable in my opinion. Now, once again, if we compare this ETF on a maximum basis, the return has been around 18.25%, but the ASX 200 in that period has only gone up 17.1%. So the ASX has underperformed Fair over that long-term sort of horizon. But the thing is, things were going up back then, right? Everything was on an upward incline. But now that we're heading into this choppy territory, I don't think that these ETFs will be able to outperform like they once did before. Plus, once again, you are paying a higher fee with Fair, so I feel like it all kind of evens out at the end. On a side note, a lot of ethical super funds have also come out recently where they're advertising like crazy about how good they are. But once you actually look at them and look under the hood as to how much they charge in terms of fees, these funds are charging triple, quadruple, 5 times, almost 10 times, sometimes, like what other funds are charging, which is ridiculous. If you want me to make a video about that, I'll definitely make one and show you guys that this ethical investing train does charge people quite a lot just to be, ethical. We're talking over 1.5% per year in terms of fees, plus monthly fees and a whole bunch of other costs. So yeah, basically you're paying more just to be a sustainable investor, and it has such a minuscule impact that it's just not worth the exorbitant fees that you end up paying. Let me know if you guys want that video. As you can see, I'm very against this. I'm not the biggest fan of these types of investments. I don't hate the environment. I too want to see a cleaner world, a fairer world, a better world in the future, but I don't believe that this is the solution. Anyways, that's gonna cut it. Rant over. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other video on my investment journey right here. This video talks about my investing journey from the start to now, and I think you'll find a lot of value in it. It talks about a lot of different investing styles, so go check it out. And guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. The less of an effect it's gonna have, I just burped.